Hi, I'm Yegi. I'm an entrepreneur and success coach who wants it all. Family, luxury, career, and the freedom to do whatever I want, whenever I want. And I'll do whatever it takes to get there. I created the Yegi project to document my journey and inspire others to do the same. My mission is to change the world by influencing and leading others to do what they love and live fulfilled lives. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Yegi project. So recently, I kind of had an awakening or an epiphany. I don't know what the right word for it is, but I realized 2019 was an amazing year for me in all areas of my life. So I was kind of looking back and trying to figure out what happened that year. Like, why was everything going so perfect? And I realized it had a lot to do with my state of being and my energy overall, with happiness and gratitude feeling. Of course, I did a lot of self-work and a lot of work on my business and my personal life before I got to that point, but that was kind of the year that I was finally at that state of mind where I could easily attract and manifest all the great things and really be like at a super joyous state. And since I've been there, it's been a lot easier to get back to that state. But of course, it's been more difficult with having more responsibility with the family life, especially with kids, but it really hit me. So, okay, what happened in 2019? So we actually went on a US tour. So we bought an RV, jumped in, my boyfriend or fiancé back then quit his job, and I was like, you know what, it's gonna be fine, you can come work for my company, I'll find something for you to do, but I don't want to drive the RV and I don't want to go alone, and you're the best partner to go with me right now, so quit your job, let's do this, it's gonna be fine. So of course, it sounds easier than done. At first it was just an idea, and this is how it came about. So I remember reading a book where it just triggered my thought of, like, what are we waiting for? Why don't we do our living now compared to when we retire? And going on a US tour in an RV was something in our bucket list to do when we retired. And then again, I had another thought that was constantly playing in my head. It's like, we can do both. We can have everything. It doesn't have to be either or mentality. So at that moment, I do remember thinking about timing and really like thinking about the abundance of having it all versus picking and choosing. For example, at that moment, even when we brought it up with my fiance back then, he was saying, oh, but how about the business? At that point, I was running Yegi Beauty, and we had two locations, or was it three? No, we had two locations, and there was a bunch of employees, and everybody was reporting to me, and I was really involved in overseeing a lot of the things. So he was like, what's going to happen with the business? This is a moneymaker. Like, if you just disappear. I was like, well, we're going to figure it out. It doesn't have to be just a business, and it doesn't have to be just the fun. Let's figure out how to combine those two things together and make the best of it. So I started thinking, and it's kind of amazing how when you really want something and you just kind of let it simmer, ideas and good ideas flow to you, okay? So this is kind of like the surrender manifesting thing, and I believe it now. So sometimes we just have to know what we want really bad and then just surrender to it and see what ideas we can come up with. So then I was like, okay, how do I do an RV trip of the US and still not drop the ball on my business? How do we do both? How do we get the best of both worlds? So this is when I was like, oh my God, I teach classes. Whatever business I'm in, I educate and I teach classes anyways. We fly out to different states anyways. Why don't we literally do like a tour that has to do with education and that's going to focus on the business, but we give ourselves leisurely time to be able to experience and see everything within each state as we're driving. So at first it sounded like a crazy idea because first I wasn't that popular in other states where I could guarantee that I'm going to have the business and the students in order to kind of fund the trip in a way. But I was confident enough that if we put it out there, we try our best, it's going to work. It's going to pick up. And honestly, sometimes the locations that we picked to do classes had like one student or no students at all. And then as the date approached and got closer, we did marketing. We ended up having enough students to keep going. And of course, the business was still running. The salon was still running back at home. So I was so grateful. But in order to even get to that point, I knew we also had to put some systems in place. So this is very important for a business. So this is one other big thing that came out of that trip. Not only I learned how to be a better entrepreneur, but I learned to be more of a leader compared to just an employee for my own business. So that's when I realized I have to put systems in place. I have to put people in charge in order to have everything running smoothly. So even if I step away, there is a chain of command and there are systems that people can literally follow and be able to continue running the business properly. So this was kind of a huge realization for me, and going from a solopreneur or being an employee within your business to an actual entrepreneur where you can step back and your business is running smoothly is a huge challenge for a lot of small business owners. But it is doable. And I want to kind of bust the myth of people saying, oh, you have to be there 24/7 if it's your business, or else it's going to go to it's going to burn in flames. And honestly, even a lot of my employees gave me a lot of pushback when I said this was the plan. They told me, and at that time I was still also kind of taking physical clients to do eyelash services on. So they were telling me, the clients love you. They're only going to want you. They're not going to trust anybody else. You're going to lose business. Oh my God, who are they going to listen to? What if there's a complaint? And if you're not on top of your business, the employees are going to steal. There's going to be like chaos. Your business is going to burn in hell. I got all that pushback. But deep down, I knew that no matter what, it was going to be fine. And if I really wanted to get my business to a place where it is truly a business and not only me running it, I had to figure out those challenges. And part of that, a huge thing, is putting systems in place and having chain of command and putting certain people responsible for certain things. And of course, number one thing in business is always have the right people that are within your company, within your business. If you have the right people, you have the right systems in place, and everything can kind of have a process, then you can step back more likely. And then if something needs to be figured out, of course, you can still find availability to give the attention to your business, or at least hire somebody that can take that part over for you if you fully want to step back. So that was one huge thing that I had to learn. And I think I've been working on that. I go back and forth here and there as the business has changed and evolved. And of course, the COVID really threw things off. Our systems were perfect, but COVID came and decided to change all the systems and everything, how we do it. I think that was a big lesson, or a huge blessing in disguise, for me to be able to first come to a realization that, hey, if I can step back and my business still continue running, then I'm doing something wrong, or I'm always going to be a slave to my business. I cannot have the true flexibility. And B, it made me realize, hey, these are the things I need to work on personally, as in trust and having faith, and being able to not be over obsessed or controlling over my baby, or which was my business at that time. So that was all kind of like the side benefits that came from it. And I will, I'm building on those skills until today. So again, great. Even if I lose a little bit business learning that lesson and coming to that realization, totally worth it. But to be honest, with being in this mindset and being ecstatic about life and having this like amazing trip in the horizons, I was able to have like the best year and have things continue growing after 2019 when we went on the tour. So nothing really went down or negative, even with me not being present there. 2019 and all the benefits from that tour to 2020 was our best years yet. What my epiphany or my thoughts were actually recently, I kind of started looking back into like the manifesting and laws of attraction and the vision board. So I hadn't done that in a minute, but I started kind of like revisiting those things recently, and it hit me back in 2019 when we just took the leap of faith and did the tour. Me and my now husband were at our most optimal states of mind in regards to having gratitude and happiness. And I realized, even with meditation, if you want to attract good things in your life and if you want to be happy, these are the things you need to really master. So even when you are not feeling your best, if you can somehow find a way to get into these states of beings, it's a domino effect. You end up being more happy, you end up having more, you end up attracting more in all areas of your life. And I'm telling you, at this point, it was like magic, and it's been going since then. There's been a lot of ups and downs because life happens, but it's been going since then. But that's literally what it was. We were both synced in such a high gratitude. We were so grateful that we're so young, we're able to afford to buy an RV to go on this tour, see every single state in the United States, work while we're on the road, make money, and yet still get to enjoy the beautiful nature, get to see all the different things and exhibits and museums and great food in all the states. We were so grateful. And I think that gratitude, like genuinely feeling grateful that we can be doing this, just kept on attracting more great things. We ended up planning our whole wedding in 2 days. Everything worked out really amazing while we were on the road. We flew back to LA, did our whole wedding on a yacht. We had all our family and friends there, and all of this, literally just everything kept on working out. Everything was just perfect. And now looking back, I could really say that's why I genuinely believe in like the laws of attraction and really having gratitude and trying to see everything with a positive view, right? And again, it's easier said when everything's working out. But back then, I don't think I even really like realized that's what was happening. Now looking back, I know that's what was really happening. But what we can do to create those things in our lives is really try to feel that joy, that gratitude on our day-to-day basis. Feel and find things to feel grateful for and happy about, or create things that can get us to that state. So now personally, if I want to recreate that, what I would do is, again, now I started meditating, so I'm trying to get into that state of mind with meditation, but other things can get you to that state of mind. Exercise used to really get me in that state of mind of joy and gratitude and really like happy feelings because of the happy hormones that gets released. And also having and planning fun things and really appreciating the value that, hey, I am able physically to do these things, really put me in those states. So if you want to recreate, or if you want to create those feelings of gratitude and happiness, take action if you can't just sit there and feel that way, right? Sometimes it's hard to just be like, okay, I'm just going to feel grateful, but my life is shit. We can say we're grateful, but if we genuinely don't feel it, then we're not going to be able to attract more great things. Recently, I was reminded of the book, The Science of Getting Rich. And that's literally one principle. So if you guys never heard of this book or read it, I highly recommend it. You do have to pay attention and really like try to hear what it says. But part of the lessons of the way you need to be is that, like, that's one of the things. You need to have faith that everything's going to work out. And you cannot doubt the process, right? We need to make sure that we are just taking action, but knowing deep down and believing that everything's happening for a reason and it's going to end up working out. We cannot worry about limitations. We genuinely need to believe or tell ourselves as many ever times as needed until we genuinely believe that we're living in an abundant world. There is enough money, there's enough perfect land for housing, there's enough food, there's enough happiness, there's enough everything in the world for all of us to have everything we want. And that statement is true if you genuinely live by this principle and believe in the abundance of life. But it is sometimes hard to accept it, especially if it's a new principle or a new thought to you. But you really have to come to terms that this is a true statement if you really want to get rich. So that's what the book is saying. And I've been living by this for a while now, and it has really worked for me. Anytime that I've kind of lost that vision of abundance, so instead of focusing on creating and going back to competing, and I'm going to do this with business. I'm going to give the example with me in business because that's easier to measure. So anytime I've focused on trying to compete with my competitors and trying to do things to kind of be better than them or compete with them, it hasn't worked out. It hasn't been a profit or a good move for my business. But anytime I haven't even looked at what other competitors are doing and not cared what they're doing or saying, and I've just taken action, creative action to create something more and better for my customers or for myself, it has been the best plan and it has worked out perfectly. Again, easier said than done, but first step is to accept that everything's abundant. There's enough business, enough money, enough joy, enough everything for all of us. So first get the competing part out of your head and know that there will be time and resources and everything for you for when you need. So take that worry and fear away that there isn't enough for you because everybody else is doing it. There is like cajillion people in the line of work that your passion that you have. Don't worry about that. Know that there's always enough and more could be created just for you. So that's another principle that you just need to accept and really like try to live by that until you genuinely believe it. Okay. One key takeaway for me with that lesson was the timing, right? I always thought that I needed to, and I'm going to tie this back to the RV trip because these were all the things that kind of helped me take the leap and be like, oh, we're just doing this. It's going to be fine. So just like the abundance mentality, I was thinking, okay, right now the business is going good. I need to make sure I just focus on the business and do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? Do all the things now, because if I don't take action now, if I don't do stuff now, it's going to go away. I might not have this opportunity. More people are getting into my line of work, my line of business. It's not going to be enough. So that was kind of the negative thought process behind like, I guess my thoughts. But once I realized that I need to be thinking more abundantly, it helped me kind of calm down and not freak out about my decision that, hey, we're going to kind of be absent for a whole year from physically being at the business. The abundance way of thinking is, okay, even if this is not the right time for my business to make 6, 8, 9 figures, wherever you want it to be, it's okay. There's going to be enough and my time will come and everything's going to be fine, right? Again, easier said than done. I'm going to keep mentioning that, but you just have to genuinely believe that there is abundance, and just because it's not here right now, it doesn't mean that it's not on its way. So that's another big thing that I kind of took away and practiced as we made this commitment to making the RV trip happen. I'll go back a little bit about the the mentality of thinking both instead of either or thinking. This was from a different book. I can't remember which one, but I really love that mentality. And this was another thing that pushed me to be like, okay, we're doing this trip now, because it sounds great now because everything worked out, it's all done. But at that moment, it was very, very, very scary to do. First, we were committing to like a whole house. An RV is basically a house. It was going to be a 20-year lease. Oh, no, not a lease. Sorry. We bought it. So it was a 20-year contract that we had to make monthly payments to. They treat RVs kind of like houses, not cars, if you're trying to buy one. And we were obviously going to invest a lot of money into the physical item itself. Second, we knew nothing about RVs. We didn't know how to drive it. We didn't know how to run it. I was like, how does the shower work? Am I going to be able to use the bathroom on the road? Like, how does it all work? And we had so many questions. So it was super scary to take that leap. But once you realize that it doesn't have to be either or, and it can be both, and you live by that, you figure out a way, right? So for that reason, my either or thinking kind of disappeared, and I was like, okay, how do we do both? How do we do business, and how do we like have fun while we're doing it? And that's how the RV trip actually came about. Originally doing the US tour, going to every single state, doing all the top things in each state was a bucket list item. So talking about bucket list, make sure you guys have bucket lists. I feel like it's very inspiring, and it gives you kind of things to look forward to or things to plan in order, again, to live a fulfilled, happy life. But that was on our bucket list, and our limiting belief was that, hey, we should do this when we retire. And since then, I've talked to a lot of people that wait to live when they retire, because right now it's too much going on. I have to work. I have to, attend to certain personal things. I don't have the leisurely time. So there's all these reasons not to do things now, and we wait to do things later. And a lot of people wait to do very fun things when they retire. But we have to remember, all we have is right now. Tomorrow or when we retire is not guaranteed to anybody. How do I know like where I'm going to be, what health, financial situation I'm going to be down the line? How do I know what's going to happen, right? So instead of worrying about the future and doing things in the future, I decided that this is the time. Like, if this is something we really want to do, let's do it now. What are we waiting for? Like, what's going to change really? We don't know. Life's probably going to get more complicated because we did plan on getting married, having kids, and life gets busier. As we get older, we have a little bit less energy. Hopefully we can work on things to keep our energy up and stay healthy. But the reality of it is, this is the time. Like, this is the now. We don't have to wait later to do things. It's just a matter of taking kind of that limiting belief out of our heads that we have to wait for certain things, and just really sitting down and figuring out, okay, how can I do this now? And again, one of our big challenges was for my husband. He had a job that he had to go regularly. And of course, we need the money, you need income, you need to find a way to support your lifestyle. If you're gonna literally, live, you need to earn income. So, but for me, I didn't want that to hold us back. And it was very scary for me to be like, hey, it's fine, I got us financially, business is good, because we weren't married or anything either. Like, we weren't fully committed to each other. We've never lived together. So we had all these obstacles that was terrifying. So the job was one, living together was two, especially living in such a small confined space. But I also, my thought process behind it, I was like, you know what? Like, I've been dating this guy for a while. We just got engaged, but to be really honest, like, it's really scary taking that marriage step, right? Because I don't really want to be divorced. If that's what happens, fine, we'll deal with it. But going into a marriage, you don't want to have a divorce as an option. And that's just kind of scary in the beginning, because you think, okay, marriage is permanent. It's forever. Like we're going to be tied together, especially if kids come along. We're done. Like we're stuck together for life. We have kids tying us together. So being engaged was fun and dandy, but thinking about being married and being stuck with someone forever, initially that was very hard. And I was like, I don't know, what if like when we live together, all these things, like what if we're not fully compatible? So even taking the jump from being engaged to marriage, I like the RV trip really helped me with that, because I was like, okay, fine, if we do this, it's really going to test our compatibility and how we get along, because we're in a confined space, we're together 24/7, and now we're working together besides living together. So I was like, this is either going to be amazing or it's going to be a shit show, and it's going to say, all right, he's not the one for you. So either way, I just kind of left it up to God or the universe or whatever you believe in. And I was like, we're still going to try it. We're going to take the leap of faith. And I know deep down everything's going to be fine at the end. Even if it's a catastrophe, there's a lesson in this catastrophe. It means like, okay, maybe I'm not supposed to marry this guy, right? So that was kind of my train of thought back then. But thank God everything worked out. Now we're married. We have 2 babies. I have a 3rd one on the way. So it was good. It was good. But even if it wasn't, then at least, I wouldn't have wasted my time getting married to someone that wasn't the right fit for me if we didn't get along on our trip. So what I'm trying to say is take action now, take the leap of faith. And even if negative things happen, take it as a lesson, and you'll see like something good is going to come out of it. I really believe that everything happens for a reason, but we need to eliminate the doubt and the fear. Now, these 2 words are, again, super easier said than done, but we are just conditioned as humans, as adults, to have doubt and fear. Along the way, as we grow up, doubt and fear gets stuck in our head, but we need to really work hard to get the doubt and the fear out of our day-to-day lives and just take action and really have faith that everything's going to work out, and it is what it is. It's going to be how it should be at the end. And I think genuinely, once you get to a point where you believe that I'm not going to be afraid of anything, and whatever happens, I'm going to deal with it, and it's going to lead to where I'm meant to be and to great things. If you can get to that place, I promise you everything will work out at the end. I hope that helps, or at least encourages you to kind of like think about being in that type of mental state. So a few other things that happened along the way. Wow. I feel like everything was working out so amazingly. And now I know, looking back, is really just surrendering and having that faith that everything's going to work out, not overthinking things, and really being in that grateful, happy state of mind. And I remember like one thing I love was my husband, or my fiancé back then. He kept on saying, I'm living the dream, because honestly, it was a dream. Like, you're with someone you love, you're on this trip, you get to see all the states, you have some deadlines, because we were still working along the way, but we still have like this almost like nomad life. So we were just so joyous. But I loved hearing him like say, anytime anybody asks him, hey, how are you? He's like, living the dream, right? He's not quite there right now. I'm gonna be honest. Like, the kids really challenge us to be like ecstatic all the time, even though they add to that happiness. It's a challenge that we're working on to really kind of like figure out life with being responsible for so many other little people. Anyways, I really think with his energy being like super at a state where I'm living the dream, like this is the best life ever, and me being in that state of mind, both of us together really like made everything happen and work out well for us. And again, now when I'm like studying more about like the science of the meditation and manifestation and all of that, law of attraction, to be able to get good things in your life. And now, honestly, there is like physical, medical, scientific proof that shows when you're in these like states, you change your brain, like you could be healthier and all this good stuff. So anyways, going back to that, like I realized that that's what was happening. That's why everything was working out. So as we were along the road, and I think we had every like 2 months, we were just parking the RV somewhere, flying back to LA. Because first I wanted to like check on my people, on my business, on my employees, on my friends and family. I needed my people. I needed to see everybody's face and hug them. I'm a very touchy-feely person. So about every 2 months, that's how I was like getting my love from my people in LA, and checking on the business, and we're flying back. So now I think it was July, and no, it was probably June. I want to say we planned the wedding like not even a month in advance when it was going to happen. And we planned it in 2 days. But it was like June, and we were in a random cafe. I remember like until like vividly right now. We're sitting, I was having my pancakes or waffles. It was pancakes or waffles or French toast. Like those, it was a sweet breakfast. And and it just hit me. I was like, what are we waiting for? Like, everything's great. It's all working out. Let's get married. We've been on the road for like 4 months at that point. I think we started in like February that year. And I was like, what are we waiting for? And part of me like also kind of had this like weird old school mentality of guilt of like being together all the time and living together, but we weren't married because, you know, I'm Armenian. We have our old school culture stuff. It's like, don't live together, the old Christian thing until you're married. I think that triggered my thought too. It's like, what are we waiting for? We get along, everything's working out, let's get married. So that was the little rush in me wanting to make it fully official. But the other part of me was like, oh my God, now I'm fully 100% sure about this guy. Like if we can live together in this tiny space, we're working together, we get along, like even when we argue, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. We get over it quickly. Something inside me gave me that peace and that calm. Okay, we can get married. So what are we waiting for? The comment I made, I said, so what are we waiting for? Let's get married. And he looked at me. He was like, okay. And then I don't think he realized like I meant like next week, let's book a venue. And then I was like, well, we're going to be back in LA July. It was July 27. Of course, I remember. That was the only Saturday we were going to be back in LA. And that's where our wedding had to be because all our family and friends are here. So I was like, well, that's the only day it could be. That's when we're going to be back in LA. You want to do it? And then he was like, okay, but where? Like when? Because a lot of wedding venues, you need to plan it a year in advance. And I was like, well, a yacht sounds good. You know, we're not going to get any of the regular banquet halls or venues that are very popular, but we may get a yacht that's not as popular right now. And literally, I Googled it. LA yacht wedding. First thing that came up was like, oh, this looks good. I showed him. He's like, sounds good. And I was like, okay, look, if it's meant to be, we're going to leave it. We're going to leave it up to God, universe, whatever you want to call it. And that's kind of how I've been functioning since back then. And it works out so perfectly. Please, like, don't make fun of me. Try it. It works out. So literally I was like, okay, we're going to call. We're going to see if this specific yacht is available. On that day, it's like not even a month out, like it's very short notice for a wedding. I was like, if it's available, it's meant to be, we're booking it and it's a done deal. So we call, sure enough, they were available that specific day only. And we said, all right, we'll give the deposit. And they're like, are you crazy? And we said, they said, do you at least want to do like a FaceTime tour of the venue? We're like, well, we're not there. We can't come see it. It looks good on the pictures. You guys have decent reviews. But yeah, we did like a quick walkthrough with the phone. I was like, it looks great. It's going to be fun. And literally we just booked it like that. So we booked it. I had to get my dresses along the way, like on the road. I didn't try on any of the dresses, didn't alter any of it. It all worked out. Honestly, they were all pretty like cheap online dresses. I was like, it's going to be fine. It's going to be quick. And I got 4 different dresses, but none of them were anything like crazy. I just wanted different looks for photos, for fun, and it all worked out. To be quite honest, walking down the aisle, my church dress, it actually had a hole under the armpit, and it didn't bother me at all. Like those little details that make no difference didn't bother me at all. We were just so happy and ecstatic that everything was working out. All those little BS stuff that we normally worry about didn't matter. And I think if we kind of look at the grand picture of things and in life, that's how we can live. And that's how we can genuinely be happy beings, happy humans. If we ignore those little things that really don't matter and look at the grand picture of, hey, I'm in love, I'm getting married, I have a great partner, all my family's here. Who cares if my dress has a hole under the armpit, right? Anyways, thinking back, it was such a great time. But yeah, actually along the road, I got to try on my dress because my dresses were delivered to LA, and then I had my friends come visit us in New York. We were in New York at that point of the trip, and they flew the dresses back with them to New York. I tried it on. I was like, good enough. Okay, take it back with you because I have no room. The RV is very small. We're living in here and driving. We ended up doing our wedding photo shoots in New York. I found a random photographer through like Thumbtack, like the app. She ended up being amazing. The photos were like magical. I was like, wow, how come everything is working out? Like, this is just so great. But again, looking back, it's because I had that mentality and I was at that gratitude, joyous state. So I know it works. It's hard to get there, but we do need to take action in order to get there, right? We need to do these things. And I talk about on the podcast, and I'm sharing all this story with you guys because first, it's fun. It's fun thinking back and hearing about it, but I want you guys to kind of like live it through me to see that all the other recordings, all the other episodes of the podcast, that's the point why I'm sharing it with you. Because if we do all those things to be at our best state, mentally, physically, emotionally, in personal and business life, we can have the perfect life for ourselves. And everybody's perfect life looks different to them, and that's totally okay. You don't have to do the things I did to be super ecstatic. You do the things that you genuinely want to do for yourself, not because that's what the world thinks is the best way to be, best thing to do. Oh, I need to travel the world in order to be happy, right? No, that might necessarily not be your thing. Your thing might just be staying in one place, but having a leisurely life. I don't know, whatever it may be, right? Anyways, going back to the story. So then in New York, we got the photographer, random, quick, worked out. Yeah, and then we flew to LA. We got married. And now this many years later, we're on the 3rd baby. My husband didn't really care to have too many babies, but you know, I always wanted 4 kids. I don't know why. So it's happening. We're doing it. So this is number 3. Another funny story about babies. So this was in 2019. You guys have to remember, like, COVID was not around yet. No one knew it was coming. So as we're driving in the RV, and I remember I always had my journal, I had my notebook with me, and I kept on writing down any thoughts, any ideas, like it's almost kind of like a flow, right? Once you start enjoying life and once things start working out with you, for you, you kind of like want to do more and plan more. So I was like really big on writing down all my ideas for work, for personal life, everything I want to do. And I remember specifically always having my journal, and one day where I'm just writing, I'm like, okay, babe, like the trip's kind of coming to an end. Like, what are we going to do next? Because at that point we had no home back in LA. I was living with my parents and he was living with his parents before we hit the road. But now we were married, and we're gonna come back to LA. We like, what were we gonna do? Were we gonna continue living in the RV? Like, were we gonna rent an apartment? Like, what was next? We had no idea, because now we were married, and it was just so quick. So now I remember just kind of like having that train of thought, okay, like what are we going to do next? We need some sort of a plan so we can start thinking about it. And I started thinking, okay, what do I like genuinely? And I think that's part of manifesting, or that's part of goal setting. You have to like quiet yourself and really like deep down ask yourself internally, what do you really want? Not what do other people want from me, what goals sound like I should be having, but what do I deep down want? So then I literally, as he was driving, I was sitting in the passenger seat writing in my journal, just kind of like feeling myself of where my head is at. I said, okay, what do I really want for like 2020? And then the two main things came to mind. Obviously, I was enjoying traveling. So one next thing was, my bucket list has been doing a world tour, going to like the top countries, doing the top things, like taking a year or two and really doing like a world tour. So that was something huge that I wanted to do. And I was like, well, this is probably the best time. We have no kids, we have no house, like we don't have anything major, and the business I figured out how to run and still work while I'm on the road. So that was number one thing. But I also love babies, and I knew I wanted lots of babies, and I was already I was 30. Like I had just turned 30 like a couple months after we got married. So since I did want more 4 kids, I was like, okay, maybe we got to start this process, because some people, it takes you 5 years to get pregnant. You don't know what's gonna happen. But I really couldn't pick between the two. I really wanted maybe start having kids, love kids, but I also really wanted to possibly like try to plan a world tour. I was so torn. I didn't know which one to do, but I was like, you know what, this putting it out into the universe or God has been working out for me, so let's do that. And I'm weird, you guys, don't make fun of me, but I'm a Virgo, and I weirdly like love Virgos, and I wanted my kids to be a Virgo. I don't know why. It was just something I really wanted. Ironically, he's not. My baby's a Leo. He was born early. But yeah, sometimes life is like, shut up, you can't get everything you want, be grateful for what you have. But literally I was like, okay, there is literally like a few day period where I could get pregnant. This is according to the science of the body, right? For the baby to be a Virgo, and it's this year. So we literally try like once. If I get pregnant, it's meant to be that we settle down, we go buy a house, have the family thing, we do all of that. If I don't get pregnant, then we're meant to live this nomad life. We continue to travel, and that's what we're doing in 2020. So sure enough, I did get pregnant right away with one try, and the baby was supposed to be due on September 4th, which he would have been Virgo, right? So God was great. He was giving me everything I wanted. So I guess then that was it. We were going to head back with the RV. We were going to settle down and have a family. That was going to be our next step. It's so crazy how all of that worked out too. Now looking back, it did happen for the best. If I just really like pushed against and be like, no, I really want to do this world tour and planned it out, it wasn't going to work out because COVID literally hit. It literally hit the year, we were going to plan the world tour. So it was way better for me to be pregnant, stuck at home anyways, because I had complications with my pregnancy. I had to be on bed rest, but the whole world was on bed rest. So it worked out. So long story short, leaving it up to what's meant to be, or God or the universe, really has worked out for me. And that was another crazy thing that looking back is like, oh my God, I need to stop overthinking things or stressing things. Even if it's like a decision I can't make, it's okay to kind of like leave it and see what happens. So that's been that. And now since then, 2020, our son was born. He was born earlier than his due date, so he is a awesome Leo. And then a year and a half later, our daughter was born. She has a really cool birthday. Her birthday is 2222. Fun fact, my daughter was born in the same hospital and same day as Kylie Jenner's kid. And then now another, not even 2 years late, I'm like a year later, I'm pregnant. So the third baby would be almost 2 years apart. And then we'll see, maybe this world tour will come to play at one point. But for now, we're still trying to figure life out with babies. Well, for this next part, if you guys are curious about the details of the trip, like how did we pick the RV and the whole experience, the technical side, I'm gonna bring my husband on this interview and he can kind of tell his side of the story as well, because he kind of did all the technical stuff with the RV, but it'll be fun to talk about it with him. Well, hi guys. Hi. We brought Mr. Gary
back again
on the podcast. As I was saying earlier, I just kind of caught him off guard. He was here to try to pick me up for lunch, but I'm like, you're gonna be on the podcast because we want to hear your side of the story. So,
what's the story?
He may not. So, how are you feeling today? What's your
tired,
mood?
Exhausted, groggy because I haven't even had breakfast yet.
You're not living the dream anymore.
Sin when you have 2 kids.
Anyways, there's a lot more we're trying to figure out. Honestly, I talked a lot about on this episode about the manifesting and everything working out and so great, but it is life, and I did want to, share the reality of it. Sometimes I could snap out of it more quickly, but this morning too, I was very angry at the world. I needed to literally meditate and try to think of all the things I'm grateful for. I promise you, I haven't wrote it in the journal, everything I'm grateful for. Then I needed to take the tool out that's called compassion for my son. So I'm not mad at the world, but
right, questions.
Oh yeah, this is about the RV trip.
I'm sitting here listening to you.
But this is the reality. Yeah, I just want you to, get in the giddy mood. But first, I did share how much I love that you kept on saying you're living the dream, you're living the dream. And I shared this with you recently, how I think both of us being in that high state of mind, it's really what kept attracting all the great things that ended up working out for us after that. Getting married. Yeah, getting married along the road and then coming back, the house working out, car working out randomly without even much
so let's
effort.
go hit the road again. I'm over this. Let's leave the kids and go.
Oh, why can't we take them? Yeah, let's leave them. Or take the nanny with us.
Not in that RV.
Anyway, so we wanted to bring you along. So I shared that story, and we want to bring you along for people who are interested in the technical side and your side of the story. So if you want to briefly share your experience about the whole RV trip. So let's start off. I'll do it as an interview. So
ask away.
So it's easy for you to answer. So how did you feel or how did the idea even come about? How did you go along with the US tour?
I said, fuck it. Let's try it. What's the worst that's going to happen?
But initially, do you remember anything, your thought process?
Thought process. Just go with it.
No, I don't think that's true. How about quitting your job? How was that?
I was never happy with the job, so it wasn't that hard of a decision.
But did you have, for me, Well,
I had technically quit my real job years prior, so that was a fill-in job that I was just keeping busy with. So it wasn't that hard to let go of that.
But how about the fact that we would be working together and living together? What was your...
worst case, it doesn't work out.
Oh, wow. I guess it was a lot easier for him than it was for me, because I was freaking out back then. I was like, because you were going to work for my company. And then I was like, is that also going to change the dynamic? I'm going to be in charge,
Forget how easygoing your husband is.
Yeah, actually, you are very easygoing overall. You do go with the flow, but I would think you would freak out more living with me for the first time.
I know how to manipulate you.
Oh my goodness. Was that what was keeping you
No.
So tell us, be honest. Tell us nothing was freaking you out?
No, what's the worst that's going to happen? It's not going to work out. Bye.
How about you were going to come back to no job?
It's not that hard to get a job.
Okay, well, I guess his
I'm
mentality.
confident.
I am proud of these comments. I thought he was freaking out deep inside. But another lesson for our listeners, like in relationships, I feel like sometimes we think we know what the other person is thinking and we try to overcompensate or try to do things in a certain way to, like, I don't know, make the situation better. But I guess this whole time I thought he was freaking out back then, but he didn't care. He
Not
was
that
like,
much, no.
he was like, oh, this is gonna
There's
be
an excuse
fine.
for me to leave a dead-end job.
All right. Well, next question. So, how about the RV? So, I personally didn't know much about RVs.
Neither did I.
Neither did you. So, can you share that experience? Like, what
We
was
spent
the
2
process?
months, 3 nights a week, I would say, watching YouTube videos and figuring it out.
Thank God for YouTube.
I think you were more, you pushed me towards trying to figure it out, I guess, because my butthole was as tight as can be driving that thing. And I wasn't ready for it, but hey.
Oh, I do remember. So, for RVs, there's
We were going to get a small RV. We
Yeah.
were going to get a 26-foot Class C, these little ambulance-looking things that I thought, all right, I could pull that one off because I've driven an SUV. How much worse, you know, like I've driven a moving truck and stuff, but the Class A 33-foot that we got, I had no experience on. It looked cool, but looked roomy. I think it was the first RV we ever saw. We fell in love with it, and then what happened? We saw the 26-foot that I was wanting to get.
Wait, let's back up a little for people who don't know much about RVs. So there's two main kinds. There's one kind where it's
A Class C looks like an ambulance with a house behind it.
yeah, so but you're mainly driving like a pickup truck, and then there's like the house extension, but you have to like you're still driving a car, so it's not like driving the bus or the RV itself.
And a Class A looks like a Greyhound bus.
Yeah, so then that one's more like a bus, fully accessible, it's much bigger, right? And much taller, so it's different to drive. And I think for certain sizes you need a special driver's license at least
No.
in California. No, I thought the bigger ones you do.
No. As long
sure?
as you're not driving for commercial.
Okay, anyways, you guys can look into that for yourself, but I thought if it's
Well, I never got a different
bigger,
license.
well, because ours met the requirement, it was short enough to not need a new license. But you guys can look into that. It might be a thing where you may need a different license as it gets bigger. But anyways, he didn't need a different license.
I had no experience. I had no idea what I was doing. We hit the road and we figured it out.
Yeah. Now he
I was
says
tense
it's
for
so
about
easy.
2 weeks, maybe 3, 4. I would say maybe the first month. I was holding on with 2 hands for dear life, and angry as can be driving. But then I got comfortable.
So, tell them about where did we go? Like, how do you even like start looking? What do you look for an RV?
We went to the RV show in Pomona. It was, I think, in November or October or November. We got an amazing deal. It was a little bit of a headache, and we were planning on taking off the day after Valentine's Day. That was our initial goal. We ended up taking possession of our RV after buying it the day before, 2 days before Thanksgiving. We grabbed it. We figured out all the issues with it. So every new RV, I guess, has a ton of issues. It went into repair. We got it back 2 weeks prior to hitting the road. So I literally drove it 2 times back and forth from the dealership prior to hitting the road. And
Well, let me add to that actually. So that was one huge thing that we didn't know about new RVs. We were like, okay, we're buying a brand new RV. That's why we don't want to buy a used one. We don't want it
we tell you,
to
buy
have
a brand
issues.
new one, you have no issues. It's brand new off the lot. It's going to be perfect. No, not the case.
Yeah, so that's not the case with RVs because since it is a house and there's appliances and there's stuff in there, they don't fully test all those things out. So you can have a lot of issues with a brand new RV. So sometimes they say if you're getting the RV from someone or someplace you trust, it's better to get a
Buy
used.
a used one.
Yeah, it's better to get a used because all the kinks are worked out compared to a new one because they don't really like test everything.
And the dealership tells you, go somewhere close, take 2-3 days, figure out what all the kinks are, and bring it right back. Don't go far. So what we did is we bought it in somewhere in Riverside. I forgot where exactly. And we drove to Pomona, some campground, maybe like 10 miles away from the dealership. We spent 2 nights there. Had 28 issues. Our door fell off. Our sink handle came off.
Yeah.
One of the gauges didn't work. Literally 28 different things happened in a matter of 2 days. And I drove it 10 miles back to the dealership, and it stayed there about almost 2 months or a month and a half getting repaired. And everything takes long with RVs, I guess.
Yeah, and it really threw us off because we had a plan, right? Because I told you guys we were going to work along the road. So we had classes scheduled, we had meetings scheduled, so we couldn't really extend our deadline. So we ended up, because we also wanted to have a car with us, so we ended up doing like our tow hitch to tow our Jeep with us within the RV, like along the road, because we couldn't miss time.
2 days before we hit the road.
Yeah,
and
that was scary.
We needed to attach a tow hitch to it, so we had her dad drive it to the mechanic in Bakersfield, and we ended up picking it up while we took off.
Yeah, so we made it work, but
again, a car that we didn't really drive. We just bought it, and hey, we went with it, and it worked. Only gave us one issue along the way.
Yeah, we got lucky with that too. And like I said, I really think things work out when you don't overthink it and you just have a positive attitude about it and just like really stick with whatever happens, we'll figure it out. Like it doesn't have to be perfect, but let's take action. I think that's the one key thing I learned is like, yeah, have the vision, be positive, do all of that, but it's not going to fall in your lap. Like you have to take action and take steps to get to that destination, right? All right. So I think, so then it sounds like for you, the scariest part was like physically driving the big thing.
Yeah, it was a bus.
I didn't have to worry about that. But I was
you did. Remember when we got stuck in the blizzard the first week or second week?
Yeah, we did get stuck in a blizzard the second week in Grand Canyon, right? Grand Canyon. Yeah. So we almost like slipped back, which was super scary. We had to detach the Jeep from it to make sure it has less weight, less, I don't know. There's like a lot of stories along the way that was really fun, but everything made it back in one piece. But as far as planning phase, so I also remember being very concerned about where are we going to stay? Like, where are we going to park this thing?
We used a great app. I think I still have it. Let's see what it's called. I think it was called Road Trippers. That was it. 72 stops we did along the way. Along our tour.
Oh, Road Trippers. So that's the app we used.
It's a great app. Here, I actually still probably have it.
In advance too, we did kind of do a route with this app to kind of mark our must stops for fun, and then our must stops for work where we were gonna do a class.
We did every tourist attraction in America.
Maybe not every single one, but every one that we wanted to do. He saw all the botanical gardens.
Every single botanical garden. Only cool one was Biodome.
What's that? San Francisco, right?
No. New Mexico.
Oh, okay.
It was in New Mexico.
San Francisco had a really cool botanical garden.
San Francisco? No. San Francisco, the only thing you liked was the Walt Disney Museum, not affiliated with Disneyland.
I don't know. Honestly, I can't remember what was where because we were moving so much and I suck at geography anyway. So there's few things maybe for sure I know what was where, but we have a map and a picture at home that's fully not complete yet for our memorabilia. So, so we did a lot of cool stuff, but everything kind of also got jumbled together. So I'd have to go back to the pictures and videos to be able to say, okay, this was here and that was there. But of course, the main things we know what's where.
Next question, please.
I don't know what to ask you.
I'm on a time crunch. I gotta be somewhere.
The planning, we use the app.
The planning Road Trippers. For gas buddy. Because filling a 80-gallon tank of gas costs a lot of money. So you want to try to get the cheapest. Yeah,
so another thing people would need to know if you want to plan something like that is...
Campsites, I literally planned the day prior or 2 days prior. I would just get on that app and find local places. There was only a few places that I pre-booked weeks in advance. like Yosemite, Yellowstone, those kind of spots that fill up. But outside of that, it was pretty much on the go.
Yeah, I want to say if you're doing a road trip, you don't want to plan everything to the T. You want to have certain destinations and like deadlines with time frame that you have to be at, but you have to be flexible because you don't know when you want to stop and see something else. You don't know when you're tired.
Sorry, Oklahoma people. Sorry, people from Kansas. We didn't like it there.
There wasn't too much to do, you know, so you want to stay flexible. So you want to plan, but not waste so much time planning. And I think that was another life lesson too. Like in life, we want to plan our lives, but not plan everything to the T. You want to leave room for surprises. You want to leave room for, you know, spontaneity. All this stuff is really what's going to make your trip better compared to worse. Like some people think if they don't plan everything to the T, it might not work out, or are we gonna stay? But it really will work out. There's enough options there. If you don't
get, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, I mean, one cool thing about RVs too, a lot of the RVs you can, it's called dry camping. So without having access to anything else in the middle of nowhere, you can park it for like 3 to 5 days.
REI parking lots, Target parking lots.
Yeah, but cool things about like average RV, about 3 to 5 nights, you can survive without anything else, right? So you can be in the wilderness. You don't need to plug it in for electricity. There's a generator for access to that type of stuff. You have water. You can still do like the necessities and still survive. So it does have all that backup plan for you. Because at first, when I didn't know much about RVs, I was like, oh, how does that even work? Like, how does it work? You know, but that's how it works. So you have enough stuff with the generator, with power, water, everything that's built within it that you can survive for a few days without anything. And when you are actually at a campsite that has the amenities where you can plug it in for electricity and you can plug in your like sewer or like plug in water, that's when you kind of like refill up and maintain like those things that you're going to need for your next destination. So it is very doable. Initially I was like, oh, how does it even work for the shower? Like, is it camping? Is it going to be nasty? Because certain things I like.
An RV is not like camping.
Yeah, certain things
it's like
I
a motel.
like glam. No, better than a motel. You have all your stuff with you. Honestly, I loved it. Like, for me personally, I thought I might hate it because of the space. I like to have all my stuff with me all the time.
300 square feet. It wasn't too bad.
That's tiny.
It worked.
For like a whole living there for a year.
Yeah, but you're not in it. That's the thing. You're always out and about.
But I don't know, like having your stuff too. But initially, okay, you're saying that now because we went through it and it was doable. But initially, when somebody wants to do something like that, you think, oh my God, such little space. Where am I going to put all my stuff? For a lot of people, the closet space, it's hard to kind of imagine, but once you actually do it, it actually helped me be more of a minimalist too, which was something I did want to work on. I still like to have nice things.
And took over an entire bedroom as her closet
because I had the option, you know. But now
she went from a 2-foot closet to a 30-foot closet,
and then I had kids and they took my closet room, so I don't have that anymore.
You took over my closet.
But yes, I think another great thing about the RV life, at least for a little bit too, is it does help you prioritize and be minimalist a little bit, where you just really take advantage of what you really need compared to all the extra crap. So that was a good takeaway for me too. What was the best part for you?
I don't know. I was enjoying myself.
The whole thing? What was your favorite part?
Disconnecting. You didn't see anyone. You didn't have to touch base with anyone. You were just on the road enjoying the moment.
That was the worst part for me. I love being around people. Actually, I cried, I think, the first month.
No, 3 months.
3 months? Okay, yeah, I don't know.
But I started at 3 months.
I did start missing everybody because I'm used to like seeing my friends at least once a week, my parents. Like,
you were busy in the beginning.
Yes. So, for me, that part was hard, and then you get used to it. I did get used to it towards the end.
Then she just cried once a month.
I don't know. It was weird. I just needed my peoples, you know. Okay, what was the worst part for you?
Emptying out the sewer?
Oh, yeah. So how does that work for people who are curious about the technical?
You pull up plug and your poopy goes down a drain through a clear little spot where you see particles flying into a dump.
Okay, but it's not that bad.
No,
the
worst day of the trip, probably that second week when we got caught in the blizzard. It was a shit show.
But how does the sewer work? Go back to that, because I'm sure people are curious, because it's pretty nasty.
Once every couple days, you drain your toilet, like once every 3-4 days, and you literally like connect it to a sewer line, and you pull the plug, and it all comes out. I don't know how to. What else?
It's kind of. So what was surprising to me is the tank. So there's tanks that hold certain things. So there's
50 gallons of urine and poop.
So there's a tank that holds like your dirty stuff. There's a tank that holds like your clean dirty water from like the sink, from dishes, and then there's a clean water tank. So it's like all contained within that, but it's built in a way where you can hook it up and like clean it out. It's not as horrible as it sounds initially, because at first I thought it was gonna be super disgusting to like be driving with that thing in there, but you don't notice it. It's underneath. There's no smell.
It's a 2-minute thing once every few days.
Yeah, and the way it's built, you can just wear the gloves, like literally, like you said, plug it in, and then it does it. Yeah, you don't really touch any of it. It's built perfectly.
You just get to see it.
Just close your eyes. I never looked at it.
It's right in front of you. But yeah, the worst part was probably getting stuck in a blizzard, because I was clueless on what was happening, and it was pretty windy and a lot of snow and bad road conditions and that kind of stuff. And then I would say probably driving in California, because sorry, people from California, you guys are all assholes. You don't give right of way. And a couple tight bridges in New York area. Couple low bridges in Kentucky area.
So the app he mentioned, actually, there's also like a trucking.
It's a trucking app that we use to use as GPS. You put your weight in, you put your height in, your width in, and it gives you roads that you can go by. But it's pretty up to date, but you do get caught off once in a blue moon. Yeah,
so that's one thing we didn't know either, because, a car, you don't have to think about, can I drive it on this road? Can I not? You just hit the road. But with RVs, just like trucks, if you don't know, you don't know. There are certain roads that you're not allowed on, because either your weight limit or how high you are, the clearance, or
there's no
the steepness.
Reverse, because you got a car behind you, so you can't reverse out of somewhere.
So you do want to use kind of like an app to make sure that you're not going to end up in a tiny little spot and be stuck or have a bad experience. So planning as far as knowing certain things before you do a huge road trip that you've never done before, those are the things that would come handy to make sure that you make your life as easy as possible. So, and thank God now there's so much technology, so many apps, so many YouTube videos you can watch for help and advice, and that's what we did. We just watched all the videos, the do's and don'ts, took notes, learned about it, and thank God with that we didn't really have any major issues that we regretted. We're like, this is the worst.
Yeah, no, smooth.
I guess the only other thing I would be curious about is like, how did you guys plan where you're going to go, like which
tourist destinations, sightseeing.
But like in the order.
That was, I drew a line on a map. It's really? wiggly. Shortest distance to each location we wanted to see. So this road trippers, you pick your route, you pick the places you want to see, and it'll give you like the shortest road, I guess you could say. So we ended up picking.
So the app helped.
Yeah, the app helped. That Road Trippers app really did help. So it shows you tourist attractions in each state, and you can pick. So our goal was 1 week in each state, approximately 1 week in each state. Few places we stayed longer. Washington D.C. I loved. We stayed an extra 3-4 days. Florida, we ended up in Key West. We ended up staying there for like 2 weeks. Oregon, we stayed a few extra days because she loves nature. We wanted to do more hikes. Certain areas like Kansas, Oregon, a few central states, just we flew past like 3 days, 2 days. like the Virginias, places like that. It just wasn't too interesting.
Yeah, I think for me too, towards the end of the trip, I want to say once we got past the 6-month period, I started getting homesick, or I started kind of getting over being on the road. So the cool things is all the different things you see, all your stuff that you need is with you. You don't need to check in, check out of hotels. Very convenient, very fun, super cool experience. But the downside of it is I did get homesick after about 6 months, because also trying to work on the road on the laptop, the service could have been like not as reliable, so that was frustrating sometimes. Or like the RVs, like a bus, and on the road when you're driving, it is kind of loud and it does shake. Like a lot of times I had to put earplugs in, and it does move a lot. So trying to work on the road too, it had its challenges while he was driving. And then sometimes if you're not used to it, like it's cool, you can still move around in there. So I was still able to use the bathroom, go lay down on the bed. I had access to all of that while he was driving.
You're doing long distances. Certain areas you're driving 7-8 hours.
Yes.
Straight.
But it does sometimes, like I do want to say about it, 6 months into it, I was kind of over it, no matter how cool it was. So if I were to go back and do another long road trip, I think the longest I would do is 6 months would be my cutoff.
3.
You do 3. Well, yeah.
I drive from here to probably like Florida, and then fly back.
but yeah, like that would be my cutoff. But we ended up doing it like over 10 months. We were on the road because we were really determined to do.
Left the day after Valentine's Day, came back 2 days before Thanksgiving.
All right. Anything else you want to share, sir?
No.
If you can do the road trip all over again,
yes. What's the question?
What would you do differently?
Have a bigger RV.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Now that I got comfortable with our 33 foot, I think I'm ready for a 40 foot. And if I'm stuck taking the kids with us, I'd want that second bedroom. I'd want the bunk beds. I'd want something big.
So you would do it again, even with kids?
Yeah, but like 3 months, maximum 6 months. Yeah, probably.
All right.
I'm ready to hit the road. Get rid of the house. Back to minimalist. You know, I was comfortable with my, like 5 shirts and 3 pants. It worked.
That's how his outfits changed, only to t-shirts and shorts,
yeah,
and mine were just workout
all
clothes.
button downs until we hit the RV. And then t-shirts and shorts.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Until next time, please comment below. Let me know what you guys think. And until next time, bye. Thank you for listening. Please rate and review this podcast. Follow and engage with us on social media under the Yegi Project. And if you're interested in being a guest, email info@theyegiproject.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.